You're live on Joy News today. Now, police investigators are today wrapping up a detailed reconstruction of how a 10-year-old boy was allegedly killed by two teenagers at Kasoa Murder. Crime scene experts have spent days taking notes on how the teenagers lured the boy to his death and the subsequent attempts to bury his remains. The alleged crime left many shocked after it emerged it was for money ritual purposes. The teenagers are currently facing the charge of murder. Joseph Akable joins us from the scene of the crime with more. So, Joe, tell us exactly what is happening in terms of this reconstruction by the crime scene experts. And so first, the residence where the boy lived, the boy who is said to have been killed, what has happened is that the front of the residence has been cordoned off with tape that indicates that it's a crime scene. The specific scene where the murder is said to have taken place is about 50 meters away from the right-hand side of the residence. And that is an uncompleted building, which has also been cordoned off. And the suspects are present here, the two of them. One of them has his relatives present because the state as it stands is treating him as a minor. And so the relatives are here to grant consent for the process that is taking place. So the suspects are taking the crime scene, as I expect, through the crime scene, starting from where they met the boy, which direction they took the boy through, to the crime scene, as well as how it took place. There's a mannequin that the police investigators have here as well. Which what they are doing with the mannequin is that they have some red substance that they put on parts of the body, the specific areas where the boy was bleeding after he had been hit. And so they've also pointed the specific areas, parts of the body that he hit with various items, which are also here at the crime scene. And so that is what they are doing here. The crime scene experts have their photographers with them. They are taking pictures and also taking detailed notes of what they are being told, and they understand that all this will form part of the body of evidence that will be put before the court when the committal proceedings takes place at the Fancourt District Court, with the state making a request that the two individuals should be committed to stand trial for murder. And so the expectation also is that they conclude this particular process today. Joseph, it sounds like a very grim scene you are describing there. Tell us about this suspect. Does he seem remorseful?
They are both quite calm as they are being led. In fact, they are a bit of the neighbors here who are present at the scene, are not far from the cordoned off area, and a lot of them are expressing surprise. In fact, while the suspects were being led very close to them, some of them were shouting words or statements like, dear now, person here to wait. What exactly do they want to collect? That for which reason they are doing what they are doing, making the point that they are surprised that these young men were engaged in such a crime and wondering what they want to gain from this particular act, for which reason they decided to embark on such an activity. That is it, the narrative that has been put out by the police investigators start with. And so their demeanor, they are quite armed, they look remorseful while they are being led, and are taking the police investigators as well to various aspects of the scene of the crime and how this alleged crime is said to have taken place.
Now, I heard you say earlier, Joseph, that one of the suspects is being treated as a minor, and that is why his family is present to give consent to the process that the police is taking them through. Does it mean that the ages of the two persons have been resolved? We know it was an issue earlier.
We understand it has not been resolved yet, but the initial investigation that has taken place so far points to the fact that one of them may be a minor. So that is how the police is treating it for now. Because of the need to wrap up investigations quickly, they do not want to make any mistakes. And so in the event that it turns out that he's indeed a minor and they have reached some certain rights in the course of investigation, will mean that all that evidence that they've collected will be null and void. They'll have to go over that process again. And so they are taking a precaution of treating him as a minor, in that in gathering evidence that involves in the need to have his relatives present to grant consent for that particular aspect of the investigation. If it turns out that he is not a minor, then nothing is false and the investigations proceed.
It sounds like they're being very meticulous, Joseph. Now, we understand some officials of the Catholic Church have paid a visit to the family of the murdered boy to commiserate with them. What have they been saying?
Specifically, is the National Women's Wing, and the investigation that they are doing, they are indicating that in terms of the Catholic Women's Wing, they say that they've come here because they are mothers and they are concerned about what has happened to this particular family. So they came to commiserate with them, and they say that this particular incident is a reminder to parents that they need to pay attention to the upbringing of their children and address their needs to ensure that they are not led by persons who convince them that there is more to life than sticking to the principles and knowing that the actual aim of life is to live a good and decent life, enjoy your maker eventually, rather than want to gain wealth and to get worldly possessions that will not really take you anywhere eventually.
Thank you, Joseph. Still to come in the bulletin, 285 residents displaced by rainstorm at Hassan Kura, a suburb of Damongo in the West Gonja municipality. We'll be back with more.